One way to do that, leave the phone in the car. When I walk into one of my businesses, I'm completely present in that moment. I'm fully engaged with them.
What about hard work? What about long hours? What about full days? If you're doing something, how hard should you go at it? How much time should you put in? Everybody has to develop their philosophy about activity.
Each one of us, the things that you don't have control over is the things that's keeping you from being sweet. And at what point are you going to fight against that nature in you that you know? So if I was to ask most of you, you already know what your challenge is. You ain't dumb, you know what it is. You just don't fight it.
Jealousy is one of the most powerful directional signals on the planet because you're only jealous of people that are doing things or have things that you actually want. It's impossible to be fake jealous. Whatever you're jealous of is hitting something deeply personal. Pay attention to it instead of stewing in it. Go flip it. How could I take those things that I'm really inspired by and take action and go get them in my life?
When I walk into the gym, I'm not checking emails and text messages. I'm completely present, fully alive during my workout. I max that out. What happens to us is not that we're too busy. What happens to us is, listen to me, we're never really where we are. And that's out of balance. We're never really where we are. When we're at the gym, we're in our telephone half the time. When we're at dinner with our friends, we're on the phone half the time. When we're with our family, we're thinking about the business. When we're in the business, we're feeling guilty we're not with our family. We're never fully present with where we are. That feels out of balance. Really what it feels is out of control. And it also lets us feel the truth, which is we are not maxing out that moment because we're not fully present. So my challenge to you is be fully present at home, fully present in your business, fully present in the gym, fully present at your church or synagogue or place of worship, your temple. Be fully present in those moments.
Just by way of review, let me quote you. Old Testament says, 6 days activity, 1 day rest. That's called philosophy of ratio of activity. What is a good ratio of rest and activity? Old Testament says 6 days of one, 1 day of the other. You say, well, that's kind of old and outmoded. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe that's too old a philosophy. The old 6-1. Now, we've got it down to 5 and 2. Maybe 5 and 2 is okay. I don't know. If God would have thought of 5 and 2, he might have made it 5 and 2. But we've all got to have a philosophy about activity. Because your philosophy of activity will affect the rest of your life. Not to think so is naive.
Now your life is going to begin to transform because you're peaking in most of the areas of your life at any given time. The other tip I would give you is this. You have to become a freak about your time management. So this may sound contrived, but I want to tell all you super achievers out there, I now, because I've suffered with this, to make sure I'm present with my family, I schedule appointments with my family just like I do in my business. What most of us do is we have our entire business in our phone, and then whenever there's holes in that calendar, we give that time to our family, don't we? Except the problem is we don't always do it. We don't always get around to those times in there when it's a 2-hour break. We could have come home and spent some time. We just don't do it. And so I now schedule time with Bella, dinner with Max. I schedule the time for my family in my phone as if they're at least as high or more a priority than my business appointments. Why is it that your business gets scheduled appointments and your family gets the after time, right? So I want to challenge you to schedule the appointments with your family in your phone. It sounds contrived. You would think I don't need to do that. You do, so that you're fully present.
I've got a good clue on rest. Make rest a necessity, not an objective. The reason for life is enterprise. The reason for life is productivity. The reason for life is to see what we can do with the seasons and the chances and our mind and our spirit, ourselves, to see what we can do. That's what life is all about, to see what you can do. Now, the doing, you've got to have a philosophy on how much time you're going to spend doing. And I've decided that enterprise is better than ease. If you rest too long, the weeds take the garden in the summer. So you can't rest too long. Life doesn't stand still. And the threat of life will start overwhelming the values of life if you just let it go. So we've all got to have a philosophy about activity. Let me give you one of the best I know. Here's what it says. An ancient phrase says, whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might. That's a philosophy.
The thing about jealousy is it's just your inspiration that's blocked. Most folks know what they dream about and what they want, and yet they're spending all of their time and energy arguing against what they want. And so you can have all these epiphanies. I hope that when somebody listens to our conversation and watches us that they have a massive aha moment. But it's not going to mean if you don't take action and do something about it.
And I'm challenging you to fight it. We all have 24 hours. All right? What makes some of us average, makes some of us good, some of us great, is not the family you was born into. Right? It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with your socioeconomic status. It has everything to do with how you command your life. If I'm talking to a 3rd grader, 4th grader, 5th grader, kindergartner, I don't care what I tell them, they're not at a place of maturity where they can switch their mindset. They're kids, you grown. And some of you are grown, but you're still a child. And you brag about how you're an adult. You're only an adult because of your age. You're not an adult because you command your life. Like, you gotta stop playing. So most of you, what happens is, when everything is favorable, you a beast.
That would excel in track. And they used him as an example. And he says, what? No one is going to tell me what I can't do in my life. And he used that as a reason to start running. And he started track in that moment. He decided that one of his next tasks in life would be to take up running and excel at it. Within a few years of that, he became world class. At one time, had the 5th fastest time in the world. In the middle distance, they don't run this anymore, 600-yard run. In 1948, the Olympics was not yet ready to come back to us because we're still roiling from the Second World War. Instead, it was still an Olympics. It was called the GI Olympics, and it was held in Hitler Stadium. So he competed in Hitler's stadium.
The door that opens, but your new life does not begin unless you can step through the door. I keep going. I am saying I believe in myself. Tearing yourself down over that you've done, it's not going to empower you to change the patterns that are keeping you stuck. Stop. People will cheer for you. They won't cheer for themselves. I'm the same way. The point in the story is it's so easy to see what somebody else should do. It's so easy to cheer for somebody.
Make sure you understand what I'm saying. When everything is favorable, meaning like whatever conditions you like, but when the conditions ain't right, you get smacked in the face. You gotta grow up.
And sometimes, your youth is the best thing you got going for you, but sometimes it could be, it could be the opposite. I didn't have the people in my life that were supposed to be in my life, so I made some stupid decisions, dropped out of high school, homeless, living in abandoned buildings, eating out of trash cans. I don't know who my grandfather is. My mom got pregnant with me at 17 years old.
I just remember one day waking up and saying to myself, despite everything that's going on, I gotta get to another level. I can see it. In my mind's eye, I know exactly what it will look like.
So when I dropped out of high school and I started going to this church and let me speak, I picked up the mic. I was 16 years old, I picked up the mic. I'm not gonna say it was the best speech I ever did, but when I picked up that mic and got off that stage, I was like, yep, I can do it.
You know how many dudes I went to school with? You know how many dudes I grew up in Detroit on the block, in Chicago on the block, that could talk?
In the late 1940s, and just one of the great memories of his life. But the reason I'm saying all of that is they were competing against the New York Athletic Club. The New York Athletic Club at the time accepted only white Protestants. So there was another club called the Pioneer Club, which took everybody who was not accepted to the New York Athletic Club, which was basically blacks and Jews, is really what that came down to. And his best friend, Johnny Johnson, was coming around the back stretch, might have been the quarter mile, coming on the final straightaway. And a runner from the New York Athletic Club is a few paces behind him. And Johnny Johnson overhears that runner's coach say, "Catch that." Overheard. So what did he say to himself? He said, "This is one he ain't gonna catch." That extended his lead to the finish line.
We all do that, right? We cheer for our favorite sports teams. We follow our favorite influencers and authors. We plan birthday parties for our friends. We take on extra work from our colleagues. We support everyone around us. We do not know how to do it for ourselves. The most motivating force in the world, on the planet, based on research, hands down, is empowerment, encouragement, support, and celebration, and for our entire lives.